Well, let's see here. It's just before 3 o'clock on the 9th. The 9th of March. And we are experiencing a malicious prosecution. That's when criminals or other criminals cause criminal charges to be filed against innocent men and women when the savages know reasonable and probable cause is lacking and the charges are filed because of malice, personal animosity, bias, or some other reason outside the interest of justice. Well, hey, let's see. What file number do we have here? Oh, police file number 403-24-15930. Oh, court file number 1201-188951-1 is malicious prosecution. Oh, charter rights, is that right? Are men and women in Canada afforded charter rights? Oh, it's a common law intentional tort. A tort is a trespass. More disgusting legalese. Malicious prosecution. Oh, suing. Suing for malicious prosecution in civil matters. Canley. Oh. The trespass of malicious prosecution, a principled account. Malicious prosecution is then the wrongful use of the state's prosecutorial powers by one savage against innocent men and women. The malicious prosecutor wrongs. Well, that's Laura Wheeler and some other filthy female pretending to be BC prosecution in November. So, Laura Wheeler, where were you in November after the SWAT team had descended upon an innocent woman, a foreign diplomat? Where were you, Laura? You didn't want to face the woman that you lied about on the record and for the record? Or are those proceedings private? Because we now notice that these proceedings are no longer accessible to the public. No, they're doing everything via like a Zoom type of a call where everybody's on a screen and no one's like actually present face to face like it used to run. So are these private satanic rituals now? Because that's not lawful. That's not lawful. Let's see here. So there was an individual who got involved in this matter after September the 5th, when a clerk of the court committed the crime. Well, so many different crimes. This K. Freeberg, Freberg, and filed this warrant for failure to appear. Well, living men and women don't appear. The dead can appear. So there was an individual, you can see this individual's name here, assigned. Right? Because allegedly, apparently, if you don't have yourself, a living man and woman, represented as the dead in their whorehouse, you're then going to be subjected to some kind of psychological assessment because you know the game, the gruesome gargoyle game. And if you know the game, then you are deemed to be, well, something's wrong with you because you won't play their sick little fucking game of having yourself represented by one of their filthy fascist fucking friends. Oh, they're all friends. So this individual who was assigned as an assistant, not a representative, because Victoria does not identify herself as dead, a ward of the court, an infant, an imbecile. Victoria wasn't interested in actually having anything to do with this individual, knowing full well from experience who these persons actually are. They don't work for you ever. Even if you pay them, they don't work for you. Their first obligation is to the cabal. The racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization passing itself off as the court. They don't care what happens to you. They don't care if your rights are being violated. They don't care if your constitutional protections are being violated. They don't fucking care. So, as explained, this is a text message that comes in at some point on October the 6th, and it's from this assistant that's been appointed. And so this is what the woman you're listening to responded in an email. Sunday, October 6th at 5:13, a text arrived for an innocent falsely accused by members of a criminal coven who lied about this woman's blameless conduct and character to persons acting as the BC prosecution. I am that woman. Proof of claim and documentation was attempted via text. Response. Well, so there was information forwarded via text to this assistant, because this assistant needs to be brought up to speed on what's actually happening. There's a malicious prosecution underway, that Victoria has been robbed of all her necessaries of life. She's been falsely arrested. She's been kidnapped, unlawfully confined, tortured, assaulted with deadly weapons. She's been robbed. But they don't want to fucking talk about that. Oh, fuck no. Why would you want to talk about what's actually fucking happening? We don't live in reality, do we? Barf card-carrying criminals. So anyway, the response was that I'm not a woman that can be trusted. That was the response from this assistant. I'm not going to open up a link. Well, why not? Why don't you want to know what's happening? Oh, you have deaf ears and blind eyes, so you don't want to converse with the peculiar people who have eyes that see and ears that hear? Is that what's going on here? Is that going to get into the way of you aiding and abetting a malicious prosecution and inciting hatred against an innocent woman? Is that why you don't want to hear what's going on? Truth is, we are one of a minority known as the peculiar people, and we can be trusted. We have no idea how to create or send malicious, harmful links, nor would we ever do such a vile thing to anyone. And yet that was the accusation. You know, they're not interested in actually spending time listening to the truth or finding out what the truth is, because they're friends with these criminals acting as the BC prosecution, and they're all friends with the beasts acting as the benchers. And they decide what's going to happen to you without you being involved. They're all talking about you behind your back. You're a slave, a ward of the court. That's their fucking wicked witch world. Apparently, there is a warrant out to cause this woman to be in fear for her life, which she is all day, every day. For years, she has been targeted for whistleblowing regarding government employee, bencher, solicitor, corruption, crimes including child trafficking, interest, private property theft, estate embezzlement to facilitate money laundering and mortgage fraud. September the 4th, 2024, via email, Laura Wheeler, the female impersonating the public, that's what's going on, received lawful reasons why her malicious prosecution and violations of our inalienable rights could not continue, let alone be tolerated, as lawlessness is a hate crime in our culture. Truth is, all interactions are an offer to contract, which require consent of both sides, as is the rule of law. Truth is, mindless male monkey acting as Murdoch, the mayor of Saanich, and the chief there of the swineherd, Duthie, have conspired to publicly incite and willfully promote hatred against our family. Both are guilty of aiding and abetting indictable crimes of trespassing and vandalism on our stolen private estate, as well as land, title, mortgage fraud, and racketeering for the Howe and the Dennis. It is understood these two, with other malicious members of racist, sadistic society, seek to detain this woman under the Toxic Tyrannical Mental Health Act, to shut us up and to shut us down permanently so they can continue to get away with their hate crimes. Congratulations, good for you. No one cares about what has been done to completely destroy our family and our lives. No one cares that this woman is homeless and destitute and has been since March 19th, 2020. No one cares about justice, remedy, or restitution for the vulnerable, poor, and persecuted, like our targeted, hated, peculiar people. No one cares that our last item of security and solace, our little buggy, has been completely destroyed, robbed by armed and dangerous gang members to intentionally further endanger the life of an innocent woman. Now we cannot safely, independently preserve our lives by attending food banks. This woman has had wheels since 1989. The house car my spouse left was stolen. The Mazda used for hate crimes to intentionally, psychologically, physically, and financially harm a foreign diplomat. Every single one of these persons Victoria has come into contact with are all making money. And yet we are paid nothing for our precious time in the continuous crime of disturbing our peace and the violation of an inalienable right to seclusion. We are private people. Clear instructions were provided to Laura Wheeler. Number 1, quash, rescind the warrant as the paperwork you filed is a hate crime. Number 2, stay the false malicious prosecution charges with prejudice. Number 3, on the record apologize to the Honorable House of Daly and the woman you willfully incite and publicly promote hatred against by listening to liars and criminals acting as Saanich Pig Department. Provide a Victoria Registry stamped and scanned copy to this order to this email address. None of you listen. None of you respect our cultural rights, let alone the rule of law. We are honorable people and an honorable family who are not supported nor protected. We have been raped and pillaged. No one cares. Have a nice day. We will continue to be in fear for our life. We will continue to exercise our cultural and common law right of no consent. We are the people who cannot be forced to comply with the wants and needs of adversarial narcissists. So here's what we need to know. So when exactly does the Canadian Constitution, when does that engage and provide protections to people who are being destroyed? Let's see here. Fundamental freedoms. The Charter protects the freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, opinion, expression, peaceful assembly, and association. Does it really? Does it really? Well, that's interesting because bar card carrying domestic terrorists doing business in the Masonic Temple, impersonating the court, do not protect guaranteed peaceful assembly and association, gleefully admitting they are adversarial, amoral, arrogant abominations. And there was a call made last year. And there was a female who was doing business as the BC Law Society who admitted that these alleged public servants who are supposed to be protecting the community from criminals are adversarial. Yeah, we do not include ourselves in adversarial proceedings because only the ugly are behind adversarial proceedings. So here we go. Here's the court file number. Here's the lawful reasons for noncompliance, because when you read the paperwork that they provide, right, it's crystal clear. It's crystal clear. Right here. Let's see, what does this say? Consequences for noncompliance. You're warned that unless you have lawful excuse, well, an excuse is a veiled lie or an out-and-out lie. So we wouldn't be providing excuses. We have reasons. So there's a satanic ritual scheduled for the 5th. Right? So this goes out September the 4th. Remember, Victoria's been kidnapped on August the 29th, tortured for 21 hours. She's been released on the 30th. And obviously there's severe physical effects from that kind of, well, it's a war crime. It's a war crime. And so Victoria then has to now try to converse with this blind and deaf female. Laura Wheeler, August 30th, claims you made on the record before a bencher and one of your friends community statements publicly incite and willfully promote hatred against this woman, a righteous foreigner of proven good conduct and good character. Law maxim, what is permitted, what is not permitted is prohibited. So that's a violation of Section 319 too. It's an offense to promote hatred against identifiable groups by making statements other than in private conversation. Well, that wasn't a private conversation. Are those conversations recorded and on the record? Can any member of the public go down to the registry in Victoria here and listen to that conversation? It became a public conversation when Laura Wheeler decided to start lying and then just continue to lie, as we're sitting right there listening to all the lies that are being told. So here's the actual law. Here's the actual living law in Exodus. You don't murder, you don't commit adultery, you don't steal, and you don't give false testimony against your neighbor. And yet that's exactly what's happening here. Fucking once again. Miss Wheeler, you stated on the record that I'm a woman with a history of criminal harassment going back to 2007. You are obligated to provide the identification of the savage who provided this bull-faced lie to you, as that person or persons are guilty of the indictable crime of defamatory libel. Now what we're talking about here is December 4th, 2010. It was a setup, and this woman that you're listening to was illegally arrested and thrown in jail because she was fighting for the life of her baby boy who had been kidnapped by a coven who traffic children. Highly marketable children are trafficked in Canada every day to perverts and PDF files. That's who these children go and end up with. Yeah, not even kidding. False imprisonment. So they bring that up, right? Of course you're going to bring that up. Miss Wheeler, are you aware persons acting as Victoria policy enforcement have a history of refusing our urgent requests for service and protection when we are being intimidated and robbed? When these persons protect the criminals in possession of stolen property and intentionally, maliciously lay false charges against the actual victim of the crime, that's a racially motivated violent hate crime. Law maxim. A man or a woman shall not be deprived of their property without their consent. So, in October of 2018, there was $50,000 robbed from Jack and Victoria. She went down to the Victoria Police Station before the event actually occurred. She was told that a criminal matter is a civil matter. That's an out-and-out lie. She then faxed the male monster at that time who was identifying itself as the BC Attorney General, and was ignored. So that's aiding and abetting. That's conspiracy. Law maxim. He who derives benefit from a thing ought to feel the disadvantages attending it. Well, here's the criminal names of who's stolen that property so they can be unlawfully enriched by being in possession of property obtained by crime. And they're protected by the criminals acting as policy enforcement. So on December the 3rd, 2019, the woman you're listening to took down a package, a stack of proof of claim, exposing Knightley, Tittyzan, and all of their crimes. And what happens? This woman is then violently, viciously assaulted repeatedly by one of the employees of the city of Victoria, Brett Cadell. Contact November 18, 8 o'clock at night by phone. November 16th, 10 o'clock in the morning by phone. Victoria is sent threatening emails, harassing emails, because she's now trying to get her property back from the criminals in possession of stolen property, and that apparently in Canada is a big no-no. So this woman was terrorized by these Vic PD savages November 11th at 10 p.m. at night. They trespassed on her property. They had flashlights. They were looking in all the windows, pounding on the doors at 10 o'clock at night. And she's alone in her security, and she's terrified. Terrified. Again, she was threatened and harassed by two pigs, November the 16th at approximately 11 a.m. because she was trying to get justice served. Because if she can't receive any service, then she has to take over the role that they get paid to do, and get paid quite handsomely to do. So that's what they're doing here. Let's look at the crimes. We've got criminal harassment. Victoria is the one being criminally harassed. It's criminal negligence, it's compounding indictable offense, it's uttering threats, it's assault. So there's a trespass of wrongfully holding goods that belong to someone else. So it refers to the wrongful act of retaining or refusing to return someone else's property or goods. Well, our son, right? And then the $50,000 worth of personal property stolen, not returned. And now we've got security and land and 2 house cars gone, stolen. And everybody else involved in all of this is enjoying what doesn't belong to them. And the woman who owns the property, who actually does lawfully own the property, is being fucking tortured by sociopaths, employees of the district of Saanich. So here we go, right? October 30th. She goes and says something, and then, well, here we go. They're doing it again. So that's why the first file number is from 2020. And then the second file number is from 2023 when Victoria attends the Heathen Hog headquarters here, Saanich PD, to get someone to come over because there's a locksmith at the house to change the locks, which there has to be. And immediately surrounded and then tortured for 4 hours, including photographs and fingerprints, and none of these allegations have been proven, so that's backwards. Photographs and fingerprints are a determination of guilt. You don't take that personal private property from anyone until after the fucking lies you're telling have been proven. So once again, we've got another malicious prosecution going on here to incite hatred against a victim of crime. Because Titty Zan's calling up the pigs and lying so she can continue to keep property that she doesn't actually own and utilize so she can make money. Here we go, warrant for arrest, August the 6th, 2020. So Victoria has said something while the crime is being committed in 2018. She then files, well, she pays for admission. She pays admission for justice January 2020, and once again, these criminals are exposed, along with their crimes, in a claim of action. So repeatedly, the community knows that these are criminals. And yet on August the 6th, 2020, Brett Cadell goes and files a bunch of lies. And we've got someone here acting as a clerk of court is involved in this now. There's a war rant. There's an incitement of war against an innocent woman for doing her job. So let's see here. This is the satanic cult paperwork from the 29th of November, 2023. Victoria was criminally harassed and tortured by Rob Winter. And she signed under duress. There is no contract. There's no contract with a woman that you're threatening, and she's under duress. So there was an invitation to the Masonic Temple in January for this matter, and Victoria did not attend. Victoria never heard another word. No, Victoria never heard another word. And Victoria did not supply reasons, lawful reasons for non-compliance. She's doing that now. So Victoria is a woman who will not consent to malicious prosecution to publicly incite and willfully promote hatred. So contract is the law. That's what it is. Contract is everything. So all this paperwork that they shove in front of you, it's an offer of contract. So a statement of service. But what you need to know is none of these public servants actually sign. They don't provide a signature. Just like the bank doesn't provide a signature when you go get a mortgage. And you notice how Victoria is referred to here as the accused? We don't accept that role. No, we don't accept the role of the accused. Miss Wheeler, are you aware, December 2019, this woman provided a package of information regarding crimes in progress of fraud on the court by CIB solicitors to rob our family of our property. And for the third time, this woman was willfully, intentionally ignored, denied service and protection, motivated by these persons' discrimination, bias, prejudice, and hate. Well, Jesus was the one who mentioned this, that there's going to be men and women here in this world after I am here, and these men and women are going to be hated. And that's how you know that these men and women are part of my family. We're family members. We're brothers and sisters. We have the same Father. Right. So here's the file number. I went down there and I'm like, there's crimes in progress here. So file number is provided. And before the middle of January 2020, I went back in to that criminal organization location and I picked up the package because I was told to go fuck myself. Go fuck yourself. We're not fucking, we don't get paid to protect life or property. We don't get paid to protect life or property. We don't get paid to uphold our oath of office, which is to uphold the Canadian Constitution. We're sovereign citizens. No, we're anti-government terrorists. That's what we are. That's why we're dressed up in war outfits, war crime outfits. And we're armed and we're dangerous. And we're blind and we're deaf. Because we represent a fiction. We represent the crown. Instruments for protecting from discrimination. Well, look at them all. They don't care. They just fucking don't care. Because they're all on the same toxic troll team. From the premier to the attorney general to all the MLAs to all the fucking mayors and their little armed and fucking outfitted security guards who are conducting business as police. We're police. So can you go to jail for false accusations? Fabricating evidence is an indictable offense. And it can result in a prison sentence of up to 14 years. Really? Isn't that interesting? And yet, social workers are compulsive liars who are constantly fabricating accusations, false accusations against parents to keep them from their real biological property. Solicitors, bank solicitors are doing it constantly. Criminals acting as BC prosecution are constantly writing up false accusations. Isn't that interesting that they're all above the law? Fuck, it's just lawless here, isn't it? Good times. Miss Wheeler, by your statements and acts, you have willfully, knowingly, intentionally chosen to be part of yet another malicious prosecution begun by your racist, violent, bigoted, compulsive, lying friends, doing business as Victoria Saanich policy enforcement, causing this innocent woman to be in constant fear of injury and damage, to be in fear for our health, welfare, safety, and life. Law maxim, the act of law does no one wrong. Law maxim, it is a rule of law that an error not resisted is approved. Now, law maxims are basically canon law. Like the common law is canon law. You know, first in time, stronger in the law. So who really laid down the law? Get this. The Canadian legal system is different than the American legal system because charges are not generally laid by the complainant in Canada. Well, that should say the victim. Right? Someone's been victimized. Someone's been harmed. Instead, the police charge the defendant and the Crown decides whether to prosecute. As such, alleged victims, are not able to directly drop the charges in Canada. So here's what these fucking pigs do here. They pass the buck. Victoria heard from a Saanich piggy that, no, we don't have anything to do with prosecution. Like, we're not the ones who decide who gets prosecuted. Well, really, how did Laura Wheeler come into the information it received if you didn't fucking provide that information? And so there's been absolutely no time for this filthy female, Laura Wheeler, to do its due diligence. Because on August the 30th, Laura Wheeler is trying to put an innocent woman on probation, which is the determination of guilt. And the bencher is fucking all about it. Oh, absolutely, we need to put this innocent woman on probation, absolutely. But just to let you know, you're innocent until proven guilty. So, of course, we're sitting there going, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we're not your property. We're not your fucking slave. And if you think we're going to comply and show up at a fucking probation office to fucking check in, you can fucking guess again. That's not going to be happening. We will not comply with criminals and cursed fucking literally cuckoos. You're mentally fucking ill. You all need to be under psychiatric assessment. All of you. Well, they wouldn't have any I mean, how are you getting authority? You don't have subject matter or personal jurisdiction. You couldn't get it. Like, we're foreign diplomats. That's what Jesus was doing when he was here. Jesus, being a foreign ambassador, then makes the choice of who is going to be the foreign diplomats. That process still happens today. History just repeats itself. And eventually, we understand who we are, and we understand why we're hated. And then we also understand why you have no jurisdiction. We wouldn't be subject to any of this bullshit. Not arrest, not being detained, not your fucking malicious prosecutions. We're not subject to any of that. Look at all the fucking time that you dogs have wasted, and all the public resources you dogs have wasted going after a foreign diplomat. Well, thank you very much for fucking exposing yourselves. So our status wouldn't be corrected, it's expressed. Like, we express our status. We express who we are. We're not Canadian citizens. We can't be. We belong to another kingdom. We're not from here. We're strangers here. We're visitors here. So there's a completely different set of rules and regulations for visitors. And so, well, claim of right and understanding. Who actually owns that lot? Who actually owns that lot, and who actually is the true holder in due course of Arthur Jason Evans? It would be the woman who created. The creator is the one who controls. So Jack's codicil, he created a contract that makes it crystal clear who that lot belongs to, who that land belongs to. So they just assume, presume that you're you're not an artificial person. Natural persons. Have you seen the BC Law Society and the Bank Act? They're determined to be natural persons. Are you now? Well, it's still a fiction, whether artificial or natural. It's still a lie. It's still a joke. Oh, but somehow that gives you power, does it? Well, of course there's a fee schedule. Like, you are the man or woman who determines what's due for the harm that these sovereign citizens have caused, acting as public servants. Like, why would you allow a blind and deaf demon acting as a tribunal member or an adjudicator or a bencher determine what the damages are and what's owed? They don't have a fucking clue what justice is. Not the first clue. Nor do they care what justice actually is. They don't care if you're ever made whole. So canon law maxims. Ignorance of the law excuses no one. Well, that's written in the criminal code. So if you don't resist what's going on, if you don't stand up and say something, they presume and assume that you are consenting to what they're doing. Objection. Prove jurisdiction. Prove your authority. Well, prove it. You're being challenged that you have to provide proof for your claim. You're claiming to be something. Really? Do you have proof of that? Because if you're a liar, you're in dishonor. If you're committing a crime, you're in dishonor. So you're not going to go calling yourselves honorable. You can't do that. No one is bound to expose themselves to danger. Where there is a right, there is a remedy. So why would Victoria then expose herself to danger by trying to have an intelligent, constructive conversation with these sociopaths that are hired to front criminal organization District of Saanich? Why would she do that to herself? Who in their right mind would do that to themselves? Because if you've ever tried to have a conversation with the Walking Dead, you're going to be harmed. Because they just fucking spin on stupid. That's just their whole reason for being alive. More canon law. He who acts through another acts himself. Uh-oh. That means that a judicial officer's actions must be backed by the law, and without a bond or oath of office, their actions are without legal support. Justice delayed is justice denied. The law favors justice, not the avoidance of duty. Is that right? So the law favors justice, not the avoidance of duty? Well, who's avoiding the duty of having all of Victoria and Jack's property returned to the rightful owner? Who is avoiding that duty? Because that's injustice. So the fucking degenerates they're just premeditating to double down. That's what they're up to. The law requires that an officer must qualify under the charter and statutes before they can assume office. Well, that would be why they take an oath to uphold the Constitution of Canada. Because you need to be on the same level. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is exactly why Jesus said, like, I'm from above. And all judgment has been given to me because as a foreign ambassador, I have clean hands and I always act in good faith, which is why I have authority to render judgment. That's why he said that. He knew he wasn't from here. At that time, there's no way to prove that claim. There is today, though. Like, the man is Rh negative blood. As Moses would have Rh negative blood, and his brother Aaron, and the other Levites. I mean, that's what set them apart from the rest of the community. They were set apart from the rest of the community to make sure that the community was following the law and that there was peace and order. That was their job. That's why they were experts in the living law. No one is above the law, not even those entrusted with its enforcement. Well, they just don't fucking believe that at all. They just don't. So, I mean, right away, Victoria has been denied due process. An act done in violation of due process is void. So the warrant that was issued on the 5th of November is void. Because it violates due process. And yet look at them. They're still doing the same thing. What's a constitutional violation? The right to life, freedom, and security. That's Section 7. The right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. Well, unreasonable seizure is an unlawful arrest. That's Section 8. That they're going to seize, an innocent woman. That's their plan. They're premeditating that right now. They're trying to figure out right now how they're going to do this again. Section 9. The right not to be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned. Well, that's already happened multiple times, so I guess they just don't want to follow anything. Right to counsel? Fuck off. Legal representation? Really? What's going on here? Right to a fair trial? No, that you're never presumed innocent. You're guilty. You're automatically guilty. And these Masonic rituals that they're running, and these satanic cult rituals that they're running, they don't want you to know that. There is no presumption of innocence. And we know that now for sure, because that's why an innocent woman, they tried to put her on probation on August the 30th. So you're guilty. The photographs and the fingerprinting, you're guilty. And that's happened repeatedly. Multiple times. Photographs, fingerprinting, that's a complete and utter violation of privacy. It's exactly the same as a sexual assault. It's identical in harm. Right to a fair trial. There is none of that here. None of it. A biased jury selection? Where's the jury? These are administrative processes run by the filthy fascist friends there. The bencher, the prosecutor, and whoever it is that's assisting. They decide what's going to happen to you. You don't have any say in any of it. Defense counsel is the liar who represents the dead fiction. Crown counsel is a liar who presents the case against the dead fiction. So Crown counsel are public servants. They don't represent the police or the victim, but represent the community as a whole. There's no way. That's insanity. That's mental illness 101. First of all, Crown counsel are not public servants. They take a secret oath to the bar. You can't sit in two seats at the same time, so you're not public servants. You have nothing to do with serving the public. You're there to serve the coven. That's your entire seat, is to serve the coven of murderers, thieves, and destroyers who are speaking the language of lunatics and locusts. You don't represent the police or the victim? So then at no time is the victim then offered any kind of support or access to justice at all. And you don't represent the police? Yes, you do. That's exactly who you represent. You represent the police and their fucking lies. Their constant need to fucking pathologically lie and identify themselves as fucking sociopaths. So why do you, this is government information. They're making claims here. This is public service. Yeah. Well, so I have to write it down. What's going on, because there's like severe harm being caused. There's witnesses to this. You should have heard Crown Counsel started with lies and didn't stop lying, said Jack sold our home to Benji Howe. But Jack's already gone in May of 2017 when the Benji there purchases the property obtained by crime December 2020. So then this Wheeler here doesn't have a clue what it's talking about. It hasn't done its due diligence at all, and you have to. You can't be lying in a courtroom. You can't be making false accusations against your neighbor. Perjurers. False in one thing, false in everything. So if you started out lying, there's no jurisdiction. No personal subject matter. You just don't have it. You could never get it now. Everything you're doing is done in bad faith, and your fucking hooves are filthy. Filthy fucking hooves. Yeah, that's right. So the bencher is sitting there listening that this innocent woman has a history of criminal harassment. It is not the crime of criminal harassment to demand from a child trafficking witch to return a boy who was obviously being severely abused in the Coven Care. In Coven Care. Ministry of Child and Family Destruction. Destroys lives. Destroys families. Destroys the quality of life for anyone and everyone that they come into contact with. And the benchers are all about it, and so are all the BARF members, and so is the Premier and the Attorney General and all the MLAs. They all love it. That's how they gain energy. Deceitful in one, deceitful in all. Well, there you go. So how is it that you continue to go and fucking get these other court clerks? And these, there's another piece of shit here identifying itself as a judicial justice. A clerk of the court on behalf of, yeah. Well, we've got your names here, so you've all included yourself in all of this, and you obviously can be identified. You need to be aware of the paperwork that you're signing. You need to be aware of the paperwork that you're filing. You're not above the law if you're including yourself in a crime. Well, here's some paperwork right here. This is exactly what we were talking about. We've spoken about this before. Offenses against the property. If you are unaware that an item is stolen, purchasing or possessing the item is not illegal. Although you may have to return it to the true owner, you're not guilty of possessing stolen property. That doesn't mean that you can just ignore suspicious situations or state that you do not want to know where the item came from. Right? These persons can make a case that based on the circumstances, you must have known that the property was stolen. Proving that you had no knowledge of the history of the property is a complicated matter, and you should speak with a liar. It's not complicated at all. I mean, it really isn't. Well, I mean, why is the truth complicated? Stolen property includes not only actual stolen items, but also indirect benefits gained from stolen items. For example, accepting money knowing that it came from the sale of a stolen vehicle. Well, see, that's what's happened with everything. That's why this woman is no longer going to be providing financial benefit to U-Lock Storage. They're in possession of property obtained by crime. And if they accept a valuable consideration, knowing full well what's gone on, and they knew when the property was dropped off, or within a week that that property had been dropped off, because Victoria had to go in there, not even knowing where her property was. She stood there and she cried her eyes out and explained to the manager, well, the house was stolen. The land was stolen. Everything's been stolen, and this is basically what's left. And then she was forced to sign a contract to provide them with financial benefit to be in possession of property obtained by crime. Victoria receives under $1,200 a month from the criminal cult acting as public service, and her costs of living far and exceed that amount. August 30th, right? I mean, this is... So see, on September 5th, you must attend. No, there's no must here. No, I don't. No, we don't. We don't have to attend. Thanks for the invitation. We won't be attending. Consequences for noncompliance. There we go, right here. So, we can't help you. We can't help you commit perjury. We can't help you fabricate evidence. We can't help you obstruct justice. We won't be helping you with that. Then we're criminals as well. Section 21 of the Criminal Code of Canada. We can't be helping you with what you're doing. And so we don't need to talk to the pigs identifying themselves as Saanich and Vic PD. We don't need to have anything to... We don't need to open the door. We don't need to listen to you threaten, harm. We don't need to avail ourselves to fucking unlawful detainment, unlawful fucking arrest. You have no authority. You're attacking a foreign diplomat. You continue to fucking attack a foreign diplomat. Punishment of a false witness. If guilty of perjury, it will be sufficient for their own condemnation, and their punishment shall be exactly the same as would have overtaken the object of their malignant prosecution. So that's written in the law 3 times. Deuteronomy, Exodus, and Leviticus. That is the law. Canon law. So yesterday they were back to intimidate Victoria because Victoria has been sending correspondence again to all the guilty parties, all the guilty companies, all the guilty persons who were involved in all of this. And they don't like that. They don't like that at all. So S. Miller, you're guilty. Evading and abetting. Accessory. Conspiracy. So there were demands made of Victoria that she had assigned into the probation office on August the 30th. And the King of Kings made sure this woman was not released until after that office was shut. The King of Kings did that. So Victoria could have enough time to gather herself and do more research and go over what was going on, because she's not going to consent to any of this abuse. These worthless fucking clueless fucking public services that are just a joke. They really are a joke. What you wearing? Is that what you're wearing? So you're outfitted for war. And why don't you have a body cam on? Where's your body cam? I mean, these municipalities are raking in tens of millions of dollars, and probably even more than that, every single year by stealing from their neighbors' property tax. Commercial properties pay property tax, not residential properties. What are you wearing? You look fucking ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Anybody in their right mind, anytime you are seen, they get sick to their stomachs. Because you are so arrogant. You are so ugly from the inside out that you leave a stench everywhere you go. You're not kind, you're not compassionate, your eyes are blind, your ears are deaf. You are literally criminal cabals who could care less about the community. Earlier in time, stronger in the law. Natural law is common law. It applies both to righteous and the wicked. That's why it's the common law. There is no other law. That's what it is. And righteous, right-minded men and women, we understand this. That's why we can't be involved in the fucking legal bullshit. Because it's of the dead, for the dead, by the dead. So what does he say? He's like, you're not going to make yourselves idols, or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. And what do? That's exactly what they're doing. This right here is absolutely disgusting. Like disgusting. It is vile. It represents what is vile. That's what they represent. What is vile? They represent filth. Or the government. Or the court. No such thing, man. No such thing. You are each responsible for what you do. Please excuse us if we've already gone over this. It's like, it is absolutely, well, it's just so fucking sick. Oh, Canada? Canada recognizes the principles of the supremacy of the rule of law, the law of consent? No, that's not. Consent makes the law. A contract is a law between the parties, which can acquire force only by consent. Oh, really? So all of this fucking paperwork in front of this woman here right now, these are all contracts. Contracts between a living woman who is a foreign diplomat and a terrorist, war crime guilty, satanic cult. No. So the living law, you're not to act against life of your neighbor. Well, Jack, Victoria, and AJ. A peaceful family who wasn't causing anyone or anything loss, harm, or injury. All three. Quality of life. Intentionally, maliciously, deliberately, completely destroyed. And that's reality. That's the reality this woman goes to sleep with. That's the reality this woman wakes up to. That's reality. That's the truth. For the law to be binding, there must be consent to rights and obligations. They cannot be imposed, as no one can prove authority to impose their will upon another. Oh, but the will of the wicked is being imposed upon a righteous woman who actually is a foreign diplomat. They're going to impose their warped, wicked witchery upon an innocent woman, yet again. Because she won't back down, because she won't shut up, because she won't sit down, because she won't lay down. Why do they even have any of this? I mean, it means nothing. It's just a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. Oh, human rights. Well, a human is a monster. So how does a monster have rights? But they just want to regurgitate what was already laid down in the living law thousands of years ago. I mean, this is just the right to equal treatment. That has never happened once for the woman you're listening to. The right to security and protection against violence and bodily harm. Never happened. Still not happening. That's why they're back at the door yesterday. To take part in the satanic fucking cult, as well as the conduct of public affairs at any level. So at any level, that's federal, provincial, and municipal. That's every level. And have equal access. So then why are you filling out fucking FOI applications? You shouldn't have to do any of that. That's just a waste of time, waste of energy, waste of money. It's just, it's completely fucking irrelevant. If that information is what you're required to do what you need to do, it should just be fucking handed to you. Why are they hiding everything? Why are they refusing to be fucking open and transparent? Why do they refuse all of that? Why do they refuse to be accountable? The right to inherit. The right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. So everything legal is everything that relates to the deprivation of rights under the color of law, because everything legal is color of law. All of it. Even the fucking Canadian Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Victims' Bill of Rights, that's all color of law. Oh, it's a crime for one or more savages to use their powers to either deprive or to conspire to willfully deprive righteous people of their constitutional rights? Is that right? Okay. Forms of violence. Well, we've got it all happening here. We've got every kind of form of violence happening. Physical, sexual, emotional, financial, neglect. It's all going on. It's been going on for years. You see, they want to unalive this woman. So they'll continue the torture, because I guess they figure they can get her to unalive herself. Emotional abuse, yeah. So yesterday, that's a humiliation ritual, right? That's an intimidation ritual. It's bullying. It keeps an innocent woman isolated, because they're using retaliation, because she's speaking up. So yesterday, what should have happened was those pigs should have dropped off $1,000 at the person's on duty yesterday here. $1,000. There's monies owed for housing and for damage caused. And the mindless maggot mayor has been sent a notice of assignment that the maggot will provide cost of housing and recompense for the private property that it intentionally destroyed when it was here. You know, hauling an innocent woman out with the SWAT team in November. Because she knows she doesn't have to comply, and she's not going to. Financial abuse, there we go, neglect. Failing to prevent physical harm. Failing to provide adequate health care. Not providing proper food. Financial abuse, taking someone's money or property without permission, withholding or limiting money to control, pressuring someone to sign documents, forcing someone to sell things or change a will. Well, hey. Hi. All of it. All of it has gone on, and all of it's been going on for years. Violent victimization. Robbery, physical assault. Oh, they're just going to keep going. Theft of personal property, household victimization. They've done it all. All of it. They've done it all. Women are more likely to feel unsafe in their neighborhoods. Women violently victimized as a rate nearly double. You can just completely disregard all of this government propaganda. That's all it is. It's just propaganda. It's literally pure poison. Ways you can help end gender-based violence. Oh no, please don't. Targeted men and women. Don't be ashamed or discouraged about your struggles as the targeted. We're literally being attacked by the biggest, meanest, most well-funded criminal coven in history, focusing its resources on our destruction while we are isolating and fighting alone. There's no shame. You have been forced into an unfair fight, attacked by cursed cowards. Feeling a little like Noah right at the moment. Feeling a little like Noah. Knowing there's a repeat going on here. Being embarrassed that there is a repeat going on here. Beg pardon. It's a heavy load to carry. I just don't care. Oh, they've got outfits, right? I mean, isn't that what happened to Jesus when he was here? They're going to question a man as to who he is. Oh, you want to know who we are? Well, how about we're here to inform you of who you are? How does that sound? How do you like them apples? Because these barf card carrying criminals and these beasts who have badges, they somehow believe that they have rights that others don't. Yeah, well, that's what it is. Oh, that was who was at the door yesterday, right here. This is the informant who called in a information to obtain an authorization or a warrant to enter a dwelling house. So let's see here. This is the information of Constable Nick Murray, a peace officer of Saanich Police Department. I'm reading this to you. In the province of British Columbia, the informant, and that's in quotes, the informant, submitted before a justice by telecommunication. That produces a writing because it's impracticable for the informant to appear personally because I have no other judicial authority at this time. Oh, you don't have judicial authority? Why would that be? The informant says that the following grounds exist to apprehend or arrest the woman you're listening to. And then that is, in brackets, this woman is being referred to as the accused. Really? Is that right? And the informant further requests that such authorization be in effect from 9 a.m. November the 15th, 2024 to 6 p.m. December the 1st, 2024. Is that right? Dated November the 15th, 2024. At Saanich. Signature of the informant. Oh, we've got a signature, do we, from the informant? So it's acting in a role, and here we have name, Judicial Justice, a Justice of the Peace in and for the province of British Columbia, assigned to the Justice Center. It's Judicial Justice A. AFSAR, AFSAR, has aided and abetted a violent hate crime against an innocent woman because this POS right here, this sociopath, well, it's here on August the 29th, assaulting Victoria. That's where this photo comes from. This is outside Jack and Victoria's stolen land. Victoria's there to do her job, and she's immediately surrounded, and this is one of the beasts who refers to this woman as our prisoner. And demands that she get out of her security. And she can't. So this is the thing that touched this woman. This is the thing that moved this woman from one location to another. That's kidnapping. This is the thing that was involved in unlawful confinement. This is the thing, it's assault with a deadly weapon, uttering threats, intimidation. And yet this thing is back again yesterday to do the same fucking thing. Because when you're a mindless monkey, that fucking brain just continually fucking spins on stupid like a filthy fucking Ferris wheel. Brainless beast. 101, right there. Oh, it's a beloved employee. It's a beloved employee of the District of Saanich. One of its best and brightest. Hatred. Look at this. This thing is texting Victoria. Regard, Saanich Police. Your fucking name is not Saanich Police. You are Mr. Murray. And you are a criminal. You're a war criminal. Not even a criminal, you're a war criminal. You're a fucking terrorist. You're a domestic terrorist inciting war against an innocent family. Because you don't want the woman who's been robbed to regain access to her security. Look at this. So it wants to talk. But then it says, you don't contact me again unless you're making an appointment to have the warrant served in the near future. The case is not dismissed, and the only way to resolve this is to engage with police. No, actually it isn't. Actually, we identify as Attorney General. And you need our consent to move anything forward. So the case is, it's fucking dissolved, bitch. It's fucking completely withdrawn. It's dismissed. It's denied. Don't contact. We will fucking contact you whenever the fuck we feel like it, you fucking pig. You fucking rude fucking reprobate. You fucking savage. We will contact you whenever the fuck we feel like it. And that includes at fucking 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning like you did to the woman that you hate. Why are you calling this woman at 1 o'clock in the morning? Why would you do that? Why would you call this woman and leave your name on as a message? That's criminal harassment, bitch. Informed refusal. You see, so once you're informed of the law, once you're informed of common law, once you're informed of canon law, you have the right to refuse. No consent. Incorporation, well, the act of, well, magic, eh? Oh, black magic. The act of uniting several persons, so tired, sorry. The act of uniting several persons into one fiction called a corporation, a body corpse, in order that they may no longer be responsible for their actions. Well, that's what the District of Saanich is. It's a corporation. That's what the province of British Columbia is. It's a corporation. That's what the Court of British Columbia is. It's a corporation. Acts, also known as statutes, are not law. Statutes are subject to the consent, and this is called individual consent and not collective consent. Men and women are policed by consent. You have to have consent. It's the rule of law. Oh, well, I mean, our entire lives. There's this fucking false accusation that there's something wrong with us. It's in Hosea, it's in John, it's in Revelation, it's in 1 John. So the fucking monkeys think that our people are crazy because we talk about things that there's no way they could ever fucking understand. And that's Daniel 12:10. The wicked understand nothing. And they don't. In the book of Proverbs, it's written that the wicked hate the righteous, that the wicked are seeking to take the lives of the righteous. That's exactly what's happening. Accusations of possession and madness. Well, there you go. The foreign ambassador went through it himself. Yeah. Oh, yeah. John the Baptist, he's wrongly accused of being insane. Jesus, same thing. Yep, you're something wrong with you people. You peculiar people, there's something wrong with you because your eyes see and your ears hear, and so it's a lifelong Well, it doesn't, 4 or 5 decades this has been going on. Oh, they've worked overtime on this woman. And so in the living law, when they don't follow the common law, they are cursed with madness, blindness, and confusion. And that's that's the entities that Victoria is trying to deal with. The Mental Health Act they use it as a weapon to silence whistleblowers. They use it as a weapon to silence victims of crime. That's what they use that bullshit for. Coercive control, that's what happened yesterday. Right, they're taking away Victoria's right to safety by demands, threats, hate and persecution, malicious prosecution. There's a warrant out for your arrest. There's a warrant. Is there? Really? Well, we need to identify who the male and females, the malicious males and the filthy females, they need to step forward and identify themselves. Yeah, we don't involve ourselves in any of that. The worldly. Well, what the fuck do you call it? Like it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. It's there to poison you. It's not there to help you. It's got nothing to do with helping you. They want you gone. So every time there is an interaction, because Victoria's ears are attached to her kidneys, her adrenal glands flood with cortisol. Because there is a detrimental level of chronic stress that's being perpetuated against this righteous woman. That causes the fatigue. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Just so tired of it. So, let's see here. Victoria is told to so that's who this is here. This female that was hired as an assistant contacts Victoria via email with uttering threats. If you don't show up, a warrant it will be issued for your arrest. Is that right? So now you're involved in this as well? So who do you work for? Intimidation, uttering threats, conspiracy, fraud. Now, foreign diplomats have absolutely no obligation to attend the fucking house of the dead, where the dead are doing business. There's no obligation for us to be there. Failure to appear? Listen, you're all sick and you need help. You need to stop and you need to seek professional help. You're sick. Like, you're rotten roots, and that's why you produce filthy fruits. You're rot. You're rot. You're nothing but rot. Covered in maggots and parasites. That's what you are. You're pirates. You're parasitic. You're poisonous. You're born that way. What are you going to do? The dead bury the dead, right? We don't have anything to do with the dead. And we don't have to have anything to do with the dead. And we can choose to identify ourselves as anything we see fit. International Doctrine of Self-Determination. Look at all of you. Look at this beast in BC, the beast of BC acting as the premier. And the coven of criminals doing business as the BC NDP. They're just there to feed from the trough. They're not there to do anything helpful. They're not there to make anything better and peaceful. They're there to create chaos and confusion. They don't serve anyone. They serve themselves. And their arrogant, immoral agenda to drive the middle class. Well, there's not going to be a middle class shortly here. If you're watching closely what's going on, there's a genocide happening of the middle class. There will be ultra, ultra rich, and then there will be literally homeless and dirt poor. That's where this is headed. And isn't it funny that on YouTube there's very few views, which is fine. We don't need validation. We're well aware that we're hated, and very few are going to be able to listen to us. Because they don't want to face reality. There's more views on BitChute. This woman hasn't been on Twitter for a long time. Our people stay in our own lane because we've noticed that most can't handle, and most aren't willing to put the work in. The work that it takes, to have this kind of knowledge. Just sickening, right? Just absolutely sickening. Seventh, 2022. Well, this is now a couple years ago. Where is kidnapped at 5, sold at 8? And as we can see on the passport here, P for pauper. You're a slave. Certificate of birth, right? Turning one of the living into one of the dead. A sole proprietorship, a business. Highly marketable. Well, we were traveling the world before he was taken, so yes, he has a passport. Relationship completely destroyed. Anyone who kidnaps someone is to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or still in the kidnapper's possession. If someone is caught kidnapping others, whether they treat them like property or sell them, then the kidnappers must die. So you are to purge the evil from your midst. Do not want anything that belongs to someone else. Don't want anyone's house, wife, or husband, slaves, oxen, donkeys, or anything else. Whoever is aware of evidence in a case must speak up and testify. Do not fail to carry out the sentence of judgment according to common law. When required by common law, judges must administer appropriate punishment. Judges must not show pity to the guilty. Judges must not pervert justice to the foreigner or the fatherless. Do not hate another in your heart. Correct your neighbor boldly when they do something wrong, then you will not share their guilt. It's actually written in the Criminal Code of Canada that you can't aid and abet somebody. You can't be an accessory. You can't be involved in conspiracy. You can't be an accessory before, during, or after the commission of a crime. So why are they still continuing to fucking try to force an innocent, righteous woman to be involved in their crimes against her? That can't happen. So here are just a few of the names that are involved in the murder of an innocent little boy. I can't even read them out. That's just a few of their names. But they were all involved in trafficking an innocent boy and destroying the relationship between him and his mom because they hate this woman. Well, we're not male or female. That's how you sex animals. That's how you sex monsters, right? Male and female. So we are born boys or girls. Then we become young men and young women, gentlemen and ladies, and then eventually we become grown men and grown women. So we could never be sexed as male or female. And so look at this certificate of birth. This is just disgusting. Who issues this garbage? Oh, all capital name? Name in all capital letters. So now that's a sole proprietorship. That's a business now because the beast can only interact with its own kind. A corporation can only act with another corporation. In contract law, if you know anything about contract law, kind has to deal with kind. That's what's happening here. Yeah, and that's what they did to this beautiful little boy. I haven't even gone through the document yet. I will do that at some point, go through the document. The deposition that was written, the witness. As soon as he was taken, he started to be abused, and the abuse only got worse. And because this woman said something, she was severely abused to the point where she's being arrested and thrown in jail, and there's false charges on her because she has an inalienable duty to fight for the life of her property, to protect her property, to save her own property. She has that right. It's inalienable. I haven't seen him since June 2010, so now he would be, well, born in 20, so now he's 21 years old, if he did survive any of it. You know, living a life of lie since he was kidnapped. His room was identical as to when he was kidnapped, and all of that property was stolen by Peter Innes and some other little fucking maggot, left for the two Asians who used the property and never lived in it. The first two Asians never lived in the property. They were just using it to launder money, and then they passed it off to their buddies. So how many times does this woman need to tell these dogs, these demons, these degenerates the same thing? And yet there's still no restoration of any of the property. I'll never stop. We're never going to stop fighting. We're never going to stop saying something, ever. That's just not who we are as people. We have to say something. That's the law. And they're still doing it today. They're still kidnapping, abusing, murdering, and selling. And then the parents get left with nothing and are never compensated for the loss, harm, and injury that's caused to them and their families. So that's a war crime. Forced adoption is a war crime. It's fraud on the court. Where is the baby? Where is the boy?